Welcome to the LSU Sports Insider, brought to you by the journalists at The Advocate, NOLA.com, and the Times-Picayune. Perryn Keys here today on a lovely Thursday, joined by our venerable, longtime columnist Scott Rabalais, who's on a sweater vest streak here when it comes to podcast appearance, and Koki Riley, our lead LSU baseball writer. He is ready to go. He's got 56 strong games in him, and who knows what after that. We might have to call in the left-hander or something to help him out for the postseason. We are here to discuss it all. We are here actually to discuss. We will get a little bit into LSU women's basketball. Haleigh Bryant had a milestone performance on beam for the LSU gymnastics team, and we will discuss all of that. But of course, first and foremost, it is Thursday. It is the day before the LSU baseball season opener. The time is upon us, and so that will take center stage. We will be talking LSU baseball front and center straight away. But first, gentlemen, how are you guys doing this morning?
Doing great.
Doing wonderful on the eve of the start of baseball season. What's a better time of the year?
We've been putting the screws to you. We've got a lot of preview content coming up, and you've been heading that up, Koki. You feel a little bit refreshed and relieved now that most of the preview content is done and stowed away and taken care of and published to theadvocate.com?
Yeah, especially with some of the work that we did last night. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm very excited and very happy about all of it.
Koki, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you tuning in and or listening here on this fine Thursday morning, we posted kind of a long-form story, kind of the life and times of Tommy Tanks, obviously the most notable, the sort of most superstar-esque player coming back on LSU's national championship team, from LSU's national championship team. That's up at theadvocate.com today. Please check it out. Koki put a lot of work into it, and I think there's going to be, we'll discuss it here on the podcast, but I think there's going to be a lot of detail that maybe even the most ardent LSU baseball fan did not know about. First things first, let's do a little bit of business, shall we? We are here every Monday and Thursday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever other finer podcasts are found. More importantly, we are here on all our social channels, specifically the LSU Tigers on NOLA.com YouTube channel. I'm going to try to say that again. We are here specifically live on Monday and Thursday on our YouTube channel, LSU Tigers on NOLA.com. Please subscribe there. You can catch us live. If you don't catch us live, you can catch us after the fact anytime on that same channel. Of course, we are brought to you every Monday and Thursday by Champion Wealth Strategies. Champion Wealth Strategies is a national financial services firm specializing in the capital markets, securities, insurance, 401k, and college and retirement planning. Our broker-dealer is LPO Financial Member FINRA SIPC. As you know, investments are not FDIC insured, may lose value, and have no bank guarantee. But to learn more, go to championwealthstrategies.com and plan like a champion today. If you want to make sure you stay up to date on all these gentlemen's fine writings and works of art and all those types of things, please subscribe to The Advocate. Go to theadvocate.com/subscribe if you have not already. Of course, baseball season is here, and if you are a hardcore seam head, you want to stay up to date with everything. If you're not a hardcore seam head but a casual baseball fan, but you are also happen to be a baseball fan and a football fan, men's basketball, women's basketball, all that stuff, everything is going on right now really on campus at LSU, if you count spring football, which is coming down straight away here in less than a month. And so to stay up to date with everything, you go to theadvocate.com/LSU newsletter and stay up to date with everything LSU related. Get all the headlines delivered straight to your inbox, to your desktop, to your phone. All right, so gentlemen, LSU baseball, 2 p.m. Friday, Alex Box Stadium, VMI versus LSU. And then, of course, they will also welcome, and they're playing 4 games this weekend. 2 against VMI, 2 against Central Arkansas. And actually, Rab, I'll put this to you first. This has been first and foremost, and I'm sure, look, this might have been last year. It might have been as early as last year or as late as last year. I don't remember a time when LSU opened the season up at 2 p.m. Friday, almost like they do on the regional weekends. Do you?
I think they did it last year.
Did they do it last year?
I think it was scheduled to be a night game, and then they pushed it up to the
right.
day
because of the weather.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
But Jay said, Jay Johnson said we'd give them more of a chance to get the games in because there's a little bit of threat of rain tomorrow and Saturday.
It's looking kind of ugly for the weekend.
Trying to get all 4 games in. But they had a good crowd last year for the opener, the daytime opener. But yeah, it it does have a postseason feel in February a little bit that we're going to have. But Jay Johnson, he leaves no detail unturned, no detail undisturbed, and he thinks this give him a better chance to play and get the whole game in, and that's what they want to do. So people got to get out there a little early and tailgate. That's fine, but give them a chance to go to the gymnastics meet.
That's very true.
Tomorrow night,
which we will discuss in detail a little bit later on in the podcast. So I actually didn't. It was we've sort of gone in reverse order here because if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it the regional where they just kept waiting and waiting, even though it was 75 degrees in sun or 83 degrees in sunshine or whatever it is. People are out there baking to death at the regional, but Jay didn't want to burn up. He didn't want to burn up Paul Skeens against Tulane, which wound up being, he played that well, did he not?
Yeah, he did. I mean, at the time it seemed like, what are they doing? I mean, why are they waiting? I mean, it was literally sunny.
A 5-hour rain delay that had no rain.
And but he didn't want to start the game with Skeens, and then you have a 2-hour rain delay or weather delay, and you can't get him back out there. So it's all to win. It's all about whatever it takes to succeed with Jay Johnson. Like I said, he's very detail oriented. As I think I've said before in this podcast, Scott Woodward, LSU's athletic director, said he was the most prepared person he ever interviewed for a coaching job.
Which sort of got this is not exactly the right word, but sort of got reestablished in my head when I was reading Koki's story last night to post, because there's an anecdote in there, Koki, if you remember, about Jay Johnson going to recruit Tommy White, who was in the transfer portal. He spent the first year at NC State, and he had pretty much made up his mind that he was going to go to FSU, but circumstances unfolded such that Tommy White said, "Okay, I'll entertain a pitch from Tommy Vitello from Tennessee and Jay Johnson of LSU," and that led to. Was planning on getting to this later actually, but Koki, since it's sort of coming up organically now, if you just sort of want to take us through what that presentation was like that Jay Johnson gave to the White family and how detailed it was.
Yeah, it was absolutely just incredibly detailed. We're talking about pie charts. We're talking about video of all the ground balls that Tommy White took at NC State and some of the improvements that he needed to make, how many ground balls he needed to take to his left, to his right at him. Just like all these, it wasn't just about, we're going to make you an All-American, a potential first-round pick. It was about how we're going to make you an All-American, a potential first-round pick. And that was something Tommy had not really seen from, other coaches that have pitched him on stuff in the past. And just sort of that uniqueness combined with a few other factors that I don't know how much time we have to get into them, but these were the things that, helped convince him to come to LSU. And I think one of the reasons why Florida State was so prevalent for him was because he knew, as he said, he knew like half the campus there. There was definitely like a social life aspect to it, and he's
from St. Pete.
Yes,
White.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's from St. Pete, as you mentioned, and he had always, I guess, tried to play in Florida in the past. Florida State, even when he was coming out of high school, those were schools that he wished he would have gone to at some point, but his recruiting was delayed. But anyway, as it all worked out, Florida State lost his head coach just before, just as he was pretty much entering the portal, just as he was going to meet with these coaches, and I think his parents, his family didn't really want him to go to Florida State. They wanted him to go to a situation where he could grow, I guess, more as a baseball player and be, I guess, quote unquote, less distracted by the circumstances at Florida State and how many people he knew there. And because of that and the pitch that Jay Johnson had and how well the visit went. And I think all these sort of things coalesced to the point where he committed right on the spot. Jay Johnson gave him a big hug over at the Ruby Slipper Cafe on Perkins Road, where they met, and Johnson's talked about that meeting a couple times in the past. But how quickly it all sort of came together for him to come to LSU was definitely one heck of a story.
It's certainly, excuse me, certainly turned out well for Tommy White and for LSU. We will start, I guess, at third base. We were going to go with, in the previous podcast, we went up and down the pitching staff, the weekend rotation, which you accurately predicted, incidentally, in addition to all those key relievers and the 10 left-handers they have at their disposal. And so today we'll go around the infield, go around the outfield, take a look at their well-stocked catching position behind the plate. And so we will start with Tommy White. Let's just go around the horn. Let's talk about that. This infield and the outfield. They're going to look different from that 2023 championship team. Tommy White's the one sort of mainstay. There are some other veterans who have recognizable names, but they're not in the same places that they were before. I think the most interesting thing, Jared Jones is going to be at first base, but I think the most interesting thing is the middle infield, starting with Josh Pearson at second base. Can you tell us a little bit about that, how that happened?
Yeah, with Josh Pearson at second base, moving him from left field to second base, a big reason for that was just to create more versatility within the lineup, within what they can do defensively. He was a very good defensive outfielder for them. That wasn't the reason why they moved him to second base. Part of it was need. They didn't have a lot of veterans and veteran middle infielders options on that middle infield. They have some younger options, which they didn't necessarily have last year. But they don't have a lot of proven options, and moving him down to that spot, it kind of opens up a spot in the outfield for a bunch of the young outfielders that they have. It adds an extra left-handed bat into the order. They don't have a ton of left-handed hitters. It's Brady Neal, it's him, it's Jake Brown, and that's more or less it. So again, it's just about versatility. It's about maximizing your pieces and getting as many quality hitters in the order as possible. And Jay Johnson at least thinks that their offense is better when they have Jake Brown and Josh Pearson both in the lineup, and that's not possible unless Brown's starting in the outfield.
At short is a young man named Michael Braswell III. Is that
Yes?
Michael Braswell III. South Carolina transfer who in one of your previous stories at theadvocate.com, you detailed how he, frankly, was a little bit surprised that LSU showed that much interest in him coming out of the transfer portal. Why does Jay Johnson settle on him at short? And then also, can you sort of walk us through why they believe they can make him a better offensive player?
Yeah, they like his athleticism. They like his defense. They like the fact that he can work the count, take pitches, and get on base. His on-base percentages the last 2 years at South Carolina were pretty good, despite the fact that he wasn't necessarily hitting the ball super well in either of those seasons. Hitting the ball hard and hitting it consistently in the air is sort of the thing that they've been working on with him. And because they see that he has all the other elements to being a good hitter, right? Like taking pitches and even putting the ball in the bat. His bat-to-ball skills are pretty decent. It's just too many balls going to the ground, and it's too many ground balls, not enough extra base hits, and that's when you sort of get the okay batting averages and low home run totals. I think he hit 3 home runs in his first 2 seasons of college, which isn't great. But isn't necessarily strengthening either, because I think he has the sort of the size and the at least the potential to hit for a little bit more power. It's just a matter of activating his lower body more, so he can lift the ball a little bit more, and just using just maximizing his potential as to what he can do at the plate, leading with his hips, as they say.
So, closing out the infield, Jared Jones at first base, obviously a familiar name, but by the same token, we know that Trey Morgan did not spend a ton of time up until the postseason at first base, but sort of legendary defense over there at first. Tell us why, if you're an LSU baseball fan, you feel okay with a guy like him at first base taking over.
Yeah, I mean, LSU fans, they certainly love Trey Morgan at first base because of some of the spectacular defensive plays he could make. I mean, who can forget the play he made against Wake Forest that allowed Tommy White's home run to even be possible in the first place?
Sure.
But Jared Jones, he wasn't amazing defensively at first base last season, but first base is also a position where you can sort of learn on the fly a little bit. As long as you're fielding your position at least to a respectable degree, you're not getting quite as many ground balls as you are at third base, and you're catching the balls that are getting thrown to you. I think we saw at least some progress from him there defensively. I think the biggest question with him, and where he's gonna make his money at the next level and really help out LSU is at the plate, obviously.
Right.
And as we know, he can hit the ball as far, if not further, than anyone else in the country. Like, he has that sort of potential, that sort of size, and it's just a matter of activating that and turning into like a consistent tool for him, especially against conference play. And he quite frankly, he just struck out quite a good bit last season.
Yep.
And a lot of swing and miss with his game, and you're going to have at least some of that with a guy with his size. But at the same time, if you can, if he can take more pitches and be a little bit more selective and hit the ball a little bit more consistently, I mean, you're looking at a guy who is I hate to use this name, but Aaron Judge sort of upside, right? When you look at a guy that of size, you're thinking, oh, he can hit 30, 40 home runs at the major league level, and it's just a matter of, again, finding that consistency and sort of cutting down on some of the swing and miss and strikeout elements of his game.
He could also be Dave Kingman, right? the old slugger from the 70s and 80s. That's way before Koki's
it's before
time.
your time, Koki, but yes, he was a
Name rings a bell. Yeah.
Rob Deere was my guy from the Milwaukee Brewers, who was,
hit it a mile or screw himself into the ground.
Yeah, 500-foot home run, or he's got to strike out 200 times.
Right.
If you would, Koki, take us a little bit through the outfield as quickly as we can, starting with, well, let's start with Mac Bingham, actually, in center, who is not a name that's probably familiar to most LSU baseball fans, certainly familiar to Jay Johnson.
Yeah, Mac Bingham, he's going to start in an outfield spot. I figured center field just because he started there for the last 2 years at Arizona, but obviously has the familiarity with Jay Johnson because of his time at Arizona, and he knows, like I was saying with Luke Holman the other day, like he knows how to hit. There's just a consistency he has at the plate. He has a little bit some pop in his bat. He had 10 home runs last season. I think he had like 360 last year overall as well. So he's been a very good Pac-12 hitter the last 2 years, one of the more consistent, more solid hitters, and I can't see any reason why he can't at least replicate, if not even at least replicate what Gavin Dugas did for them last season, but in center field. That's kind of the mold I see him in, but he's just going to be a rock for them, and they sort of need more veterans. They needed a veteran like him in the lineup, and they have him.
Jake Brown on left, highly touted, coming out of the state of Louisiana, and then Paxton Kling, who was obviously on last year's team, highly touted when he was a freshman coming out of Pennsylvania. Yeah,
these are two twitchy, really good athletes. Kling obviously played for them last season and had some pretty solid production. Didn't play as much towards the second half of the year as they were gearing up for the playoffs.
But they're very high. They've always been very high on his ability.
On Kling.
Yes. Yeah, and you can see it. He's a natural mover out there. Like I said, quick twitch athlete. Can definitely play center field defensively. Has some power in that bat as well. Kind of in terms of player type, a lot like Dylan Cruz, and we talked about that last year too. It's just a matter of can he prove it? Can he be consistent out there as a hitter, especially? And then on the other side of the outfield, in left or right field, we'll see. Is Jake Brown, who Major League Baseball thought he was a pitcher, a left-handed pitcher, a very talented one. But Jay Johnson and they like him as a hitter, at least for now. Not saying that his pitching career is necessarily over. He could start a Sunday game next year. I wouldn't be surprised because he's just that good of an athlete. He's a natural swing, and he definitely has some pop. At a scrimmage, I saw him hit a ball, 350, 380 feet over everything in right field. So he definitely has a natural swing, and he's a guy who's going to help them out this year.
So, finally, going all the way around the horn, I will actually put this question to Rab, since he's been covering LSU baseball, seen a lot of LSU baseball, a lot of games over the years. Brady Neal, Alex Milazzo, Hayden Travinski. Is this the deepest LSU's ever been in behind the plate in a given season?
Boy, I can't remember a time where they had these guys. It's always been a catching situation like. Maybe two, maybe
sure.
two guys, but three, and I think one of the pitchers, Holman said, I'll throw to any of them, they're pretty interchangeable, and the battery, as we say in baseball, the pitching catching is pretty deep for LSU, incredibly deep. Can the pitchers be, fill the void left by Paul Skeens, of course, is the question. They're going to try to recreate him in the aggregate, as they said in Moneyball, with all these pitchers. But the catching situation, you guys can hit, and you guys who can play defense and throw. Who's the best thrower? Is it?
It's probably Travinsky, which is a little
Okay, that's
surprising because
surprising.
he's
I didn't
not
think
the
you were gonna
one
say that.
defensively who you'd figure. But
I
he
would
is
have
a
said
cannon.
Milazzo.
Yeah.
He is, Travinsky as a cannon. I think he caught more guys stealing last year than Milazzo did even.
And it's such a tough position to play. You know, Travinsky, if you give him a little time to recharge, he became such a dangerous hitter last year for LSU. But you don't want him behind the plate, 50 games or something like that, or 45 games. So it's gonna be fascinating throughout to see how Jay Johnson fills this void and replaces this guy and handles this rotation.
Because there are a lot of replacements to make off of last year's team.
They have a lot of depth, but it's a lot of question marks as well. But this is one of the positions where you figure no one in the country can probably compare with what LSU's got in the quality of these three catchers, and Neil, Milazzo, and Travinsky.
We know just from having watched college baseball for all these years and having watched LSU baseball for all these years that the opening day lineup almost never matches the lineup on the final day of the season, wherever that final day of the season winds up being. We certainly didn't. I can't imagine that either of you two gentlemen would have expected that Travinsky would have been batting cleanup by the end of the year last year. So I guess with that in mind, and maybe I'll put this to either of you who wants to answer, if there's going to be somebody who is not in the projected starting lineup right now, who we were to sort of take predictions on who might be that guy at the end of the season who's not in the lineup now, whom might you guess it would be?
They don't. I don't know if this team has quite as much depth as they had last season. So this might be a slightly trickier question to answer. But they have some interesting freshmen who I think could make an impact at some point. Stephen Milam, who's a young second baseman from New Mexico. He's a freshman, and I've just been really impressed by the way he's been handling this level of pitching already in these preseason practices. Ben Napolt, who played a decent bit last year as like a defensive replacement. He's the best bunter on the team, probably still. He was the best bunter on the team last year. He's definitely going to be an option for them. He could be a starter by the end of the year at second base. Those are two infielders to keep an eye out for him. Out for Zeb Ruddle, who redshirted all of last season. They like the progress that he's made as a left-handed bat in the outfield. Ashton Larson, who they're playing a little bit more at first base. He's a talented kid who was drafted in the 20th round, probably could have gone earlier. They like his sweet left-handed swing. So there's some options there outside of just the catchers, obviously. I think all those guys could make an impact at least at some point during the year.
Not that I'm making this prediction. Not that I'm saying that I think this will be the guy. But another interesting name too is Ethan Fry. Just from the simple point that he can, is he probably going to catch? Probably not, just because of the depth we discussed. But he can catch, play outfield, and play first base. So that's a guy who, all of a sudden, now you need a quick fix, so to speak, at one of these spots, and he can play potentially any of those spots and maybe fill in. Look, there's probably going to be an injury here and there that LSU doesn't anticipate.
And he's a right-handed bat; they can slide in if they're facing a lefty or something.
Right,
so,
right,
yeah.
Right. So we'll be watching, obviously, LSU versus VMI, Alec Box Stadium, 2:00 on Friday. They will play VMI on Friday and Sunday. They will play Central Arkansas on Saturday and Monday. And as we discussed, it's baseball season, so we're bound to run into some rain delays. Check your local weather, and we will see what happens there this weekend in terms of the lineup. But yes, that is the plan.
Got to expect some weather. I've never been colder in Tiger Stadium than I've been in Alex Box Stadium.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Oh, you mean like for the opening weekends?
Yeah,
Or some of these?
yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's a good point. We will break here and turn to LSU gymnastics. Actually, LSU women's basketball team. But first, we should tell you, of course, that you know where to find all our writers' great work. That's at theadvocate.com. Please subscribe if you haven't already. That's to do that, you go to theadvocate.com/subscribe. We've got plenty to cover here when it comes to LSU, and so to stay up to date with everything, please sign up for our newsletter. It's a daily newsletter, but Rav handles that 3 times a week. Obviously, to sign up, you go to theadvocate.com/LSU newsletter. We are here every Monday and Thursday on all our social channels, specifically our YouTube channel, LSU Tigers on NOLA.com. You can catch us live there. If you don't catch us live there, you can catch us after the fact on that same YouTube channel. So please subscribe to that. And if you don't catch us there, you can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever other finer podcasts are found. One last thing, obviously, we are brought to you every Monday and Thursday by Champion Wealth Strategies. Please go to championwealthstrategies.com and plan like a champion today. So, Rab, while you've been gone, speaking of being cold, you've been gone out like James Bond and which one was the one where he's chasing the guy skiing down the mountain? Which one?
Oh, For Your Eyes Only?
Yeah, For Your Eyes.
You can ask Koki that too. Koki, I finally have someone who's
you're
big
007 man?
As big a film buff as I am.
A movie guy. Yeah,
Okay, well, that's
sure.
fantastic. Oh, good. You two will be peas in a pod, having a great time in the press box. And
Favorite movie, The Godfather.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, well, I mean,
I mean,
it's a
little obvious, but it's undeniable. How about that? It's
no, it doesn't. And now we're getting sidetracked here. But, The Godfather, how do you know it's great, and why is it an all-time favorite? Because it doesn't matter. It comes on AMC or whatever it is. It doesn't matter what scene you come in on. Once you come in on it, you're in. The rest of your afternoon's shot. I
guess real quick. While we were in Colorado, I was in Colorado over the weekend with my family. But one night we watched Chinatown. The first time I watched Chinatown from beginning to end. And some people say it's a flawless movie, and it's certainly got a lot of twists and turns.
I love that movie.
I'll stick with The Godfather. How's that?
Oh, The Godfather you just can't go wrong with The Godfather. But Chinatown's really good.
Chinatown's great. Yeah.
Well, speaking of blockbusters, how about the LSU gymnastics team? They're facing.
Nice segue.
They're facing.
That's why he's the host.
Yeah, that's right. They're facing Auburn at 8:00 on Friday on the PMAC. We would be remiss if we did not bring up Haleigh Bryant. Well, first things first, let's have a little bit of fun, shall we? While many of you were out there on the parade routes, you may have seen Livvy Dunne. I can't remember which. It was down in Jefferson, but one of the floats had the depiction of Livvy Dunne on beam holding 2 stacks of cash.
2 stacks of cash, yes.
Which made me laugh because our former colleague Haleigh Bryant, who was here on the desk and was brilliant and a big LSU gymnastics fan, just got her completely bent out of shape because these guys don't know what they're doing. Livvy Dunne doesn't compete on beam. These guys are idiots, Anyway, but
it's true.
Yeah, well, it is true. But we'll discuss this, I'm sure, as we go down the line. But obviously, LSU is front and center with the NIL game, and going to be part of an Amazon series. And LSU is going to be, as it turns out, handsomely paid to be involved in that NIL series. But look, Livvy Dunne, who don't we all love Livvy Dunne and what she's done? Probably really for her teammates, actually. Before we get into just the actual gymnastics success.
Yeah, I mean, she's shared the wealth with a lot of her teammates. She gets a new deal. She kind of every time she gets a new endorsement deal or something like that, she has them make sure that
everybody gets a taste.
Somebody gets something, a bag, some cosmetics, whatever it happens to be, and look, I've come to realize, there's J.J. Clark, the LSU coach, has said that there's kind of two Livvy Dunne, the people see on television and on the red carpet at the ESPYs and stuff like that, and dating Paul Skeens, and then there's Olivia Dunne, who's the young lady in the gym who still likes to. She doesn't have to be doing this. Yeah,
she could quote unquote retire now and go back onto a big pile of cash.
Right, but she likes the environment, the cocoon, shall we say, of the team and the locker room and being part of something bigger than herself. That she's just a cog of, and I will say she's performed. She only did 4 routines all of last year. She had some leg issues and stuff like that, but she's performing on a more regular basis this year. 1 or 2 events, not an all arounder.
But has been a nice piece to the
LSU so she's people are like, well, she doesn't do anything. Yeah, she's done more this year and has been a contributor. But yeah, I was struck too by the Livvy Dunne on the beam on the float. You got to give that a 995 start value of a float because it's very well executed. Just she doesn't do beam.
Deduct a little bit,
just a little bit.
It wasn't a proper
depiction.
Somebody who made quite the headlines on beam this past week at Georgia was Haleigh Bryant, of course. She completes the gym slam, a perfect 10 in all 4 events. This is her 13th career perfect 10. And Rab, you're going to get this right. I'm going just out of clear memory. Is she only the 14th?
That's correct.
Athlete all time to have completed the gym
First at
slam?
LSU and 14th ever in women's college
Yeah.
gymnastics.
Well, so first and foremost, explain to everybody just in clear detail what a gym slam is, and then second, just go through Haleigh Bryant's season and what kind of season she has, and is it? I'll put it to you: is it? It's certainly among the best seasons that any LSU gymnast has ever had, but is it the best? Go through it.
She's on her way. The career gym slam is a perfect 10 on all 4 events. Vault, where she's one of the best in the country, if not the best. Uneven bars, balance beam, and floor. And she had 10s on all 3 of those other events before last week at Georgia, when she had this 10 on beam, and I think her best score had ever been like a 9.95. So it wasn't the tinniest of 10s. She had a little bit of a very good gymnast can when they make a mistake or they have a balance correction,
right?
They can cover it up really well.
Yes.
And she dipped a shoulder a little bit up, but she did. It was such an amazing. It was like a forward thing where she flips over and lands going forward on the beam, which is 4 inches wide. Let's remember that.
4
it's like
inches,
the width of a golf cup.
Yep.
So I think her reputation is such that she kind of gets a little bit of benefit of the doubt from the judges. But the season she's having is tremendous. 23 routines so far this year. She has scored 3 10s. She has scored 10 scores of 9.95 or better, and 20 scores of 9.90 or better, which is, anything 9.90 or above is really good.
Right.
There's nothing more subjective in the world than college gymnastics scoring. But that's still pretty impressive when she's hitting at 87% of her routines are 9.90 or better. And the rest of the team is hitting at a 38% rate, the whole rest of the team combined.
That's pretty amazing. I know, without taking anything away from Haleigh Bryant, the accomplishments she's had, isn't there something of sort of a small mini controversy brewing about whether they think it's easier, seems like it's getting easier to score a perfect 10 now, and is there anything to be done about it?
There are a lot more 10s. Everyone will say that. You cover gymnastics, or the competitors, I think, would even say it. Like I said, it wasn't the most perfect 10.
Right.
On beam the other day, but it's
better than any of the 3 of us could do, I would say.
But at the same time,
I like to see us try.
No, you don't.
Not on the balance beam. I'd like to walk the thing, just to be able to not fall off. But at the same time, college gymnasts are doing more and more difficulty every year. This is what you see in the Olympics, on the elite gymnastics level.
Right.
You don't see.
Whereas that you did not used to see the same level of performance, college versus the Olympic level. Is that
yes,
fair to say?
Yes. Connor McLean, who the LSU freshman who's going to try to earn a spot on the U.S. Olympic team after the season's over. She's waters down her routines, for the LSU, because in college it's more important to stick the landing and to be flawless than it is to just on the elite level, the Olympic level, the international level. It's most important to just have tons and tons of difficulty, and if you stumble a little bit on the landing,
that's okay.
That's okay because
of the level of difficulty.
Yeah, and that's where women's collegiate gymnastics is going as well, in that direction, more difficulty. Haleigh Bryant does these front layouts, like when you see her on floor, she does a front layout, which means she flips over and lands forward. That virtually no one else does in the country. Now she's more comfortable doing that. It's just a thing. It's like it's like Phil Mickelson being a right-hander and playing golf left-handed.
Right.
It's just more comfortable for her. But I would say that in terms of it's a fair criticism to say that there are more 10s and maybe the judges are getting a little more. Passing them out with a little more ease, but at the same time, college gymnasts are doing more and more difficulty, and maybe they're rewarding that instead of just looking for it's got to be perfect. And that's the criticism of Oklahoma, who's dominated gymnastics for years, that they do everything really perfectly, but it doesn't have a lot of pizzazz.
Not a lot of flair.
And I think people want to see that, and I think that's starting to be rewarded more in college gymnastics.
One way or the other, we'll wrap up gymnastics here in just a second, but one way or the other, really just in summation, just to make clear that we're not trying to minimize what what these young women are doing. If you have never been out to a gym meet, particularly now with the level of difficulty and some of these things that they're performing. If you've never been out to a gym meet, please go. It's something else. Friday night's another opportunity, and of course, as you said, there's going to be a dual meet, or excuse me, not a dual meet, a podium meet here before long, and the SEC championships in New Orleans.
Three meets left in the PMAC.
Yeah.
There's going to be a 4-team podium meet at the River Center, and then the SEC championships are at the Smoothie King Center in March. If you haven't been, you should try to get out to see one.
And it's a hell of an. Excuse me, I can't speak today. It's a hell of an atmosphere too, because this place is packed. Try going to. I don't mean to pile on these guys, but try going to a men's basketball game and getting the kind of atmosphere that you're going to get from a gym meet. It's not even close.
It's not the same thing, unfortunately. Like you said, not to pile on, but the run. If I can go with this real quickly, the run of great athletes that LSU has had over the last couple of years is unbelievable.
Right.
Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz, obviously, Tommy White. Jaden Daniels winning the Heisman Trophy. Ingrid Lindblad, the LSU women's golfer, is the #1 amateur in the world. Angel Reese, of course, national, MVP of the NCAA tournament and an All-American, and Haleigh Bryant's way up there. She's all. You complete this career Grand Slam, this college Grand Slam, and she's one of the all-time greats. If not, maybe having a chance to go down as an all-time great, and she could come back next year. It's not out of the realm of possibility that she does.
Pretty impressive. Speaking of pretty impressive, Rab, we have not gotten your 2 cents on the LSU women lately. You obviously been out, as I said, doing your best James Bond impression, going down the ski slopes.
That's me.
The LSU women, they have won their last couple of games. They were off this week. Did not have a game this week. They will play again on Sunday. But in the last game, win over Alabama, they had to rally, and they did rally. Outscored them 30-9 in the third quarter. But something that you said might be a very, very key aspect, a key development out of this team is something that actually came to be, which was last year Poa's come up big the last couple of games. Against Alabama, she played 30-plus minutes, 11 points, 4 assists. She's averaged 25 minutes per game over the last 3 games. And for a team that lost a lot of depth, particularly in the backcourt, well, now all of a sudden you've got somebody who you feel a whole lot better about. And if they can continue to, not to get too far sidetracked, but if they can get Janae Kent going and maybe get a little bit more out of Del Rosario in the front court, well, now all of a sudden you got a team that you don't want to mess with in March, which you really didn't want to mess with in March anyway.
That's right. It's funny as someone wrote a week or so ago. It was in a team full of All-Americans. Last year, Poa could be the key to their hopes of getting back to the Final Four and challenging for the national championship again. Not that she's a bad player, anything like that, but doesn't have quite those credentials of a Haleigh Van Lith or an Angel Reese or an Anissa Morrow. But she gives them. She's a better ball handler. She's a better defender. She started the second half. Haleigh Van Lith hardly played the second half against Alabama because they wanted to come out and press, and she's their best. She's their best defender, best perimeter defender.
Terry Poole's not there anymore.
Right. That's one of those players you mentioned that really hurt their depth. The player they kicked off the team earlier this season, and it just gives them so many more options. It especially first of all allows them to move Haleigh Van Lith to the 2, her natural position. And it gives them a chance to do some different rotations with Flau'jae Johnson and Michaela Williams, get them in and out there. Because the minutes are really piling up. Michaela Williams has averaged over 35 minutes a game this year. Yes. So the time is definitely...
And it's not much less for Haleigh.
No. I mean, all these starters are playing a lot of minutes. And it's... they really need to work in some time to kind of get them fresher. And if Poa can play at this level... They can do that, and all these players. She's not likely to go off for 20 points like all the other starters, the starters do. But she's not an offensive liability.
She can give you some good minutes. Some good
she can drive.
She
can hit the 3,
and hit the occasional shot. Absolutely.
But she does a lot of things.
Right.
Yes, kind of kind of a Swiss Army knife kind of approach that really helps the team. But the biggest thing, of course, gives them depth going into the postseason. And Mulkey is. Kim Mulkey has definitely tried. They're definitely trying to do the best they can. They're not going to get Samaya Smith back. Terry Poole's not coming back. But as you said, Del Rosario giving them more minutes inside, and Poa and maybe Kent giving them more minutes on the perimeter is going to be crucial to this team as they're trying to make sure they keep a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, which means you get to host the first 2 rounds, and then moving forward to try to get back to the Final Four, which this year is in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah, well, that would see. I would be excited to go to Cleveland. I'm sure most of the
been
rest
to
of you are not.
Cleveland.
Yeah,
I've been to Cleveland a few times.
my parents lived in Cleveland for 16 years, so I know the area well. But long story short, LSU is on the way, despite some of the stumbles that LSU has had throughout this season. Certainly more losses this season than last season. LSU has climbed to number 8 in the NET. Right now, it would likely be a number 3 seed, and so they certainly would host the first weekend and then go off from there.
I got to say real quick, Charlie Cream, who's the best women's bracketologist,
Yes.
you have Joe Lunardi for the men, and Charlie Cream does the women. Right now, he has Baylor coming as a 6 seed to Baton Rouge.
Oh,
as a 3.
well, wouldn't that be a lot of fun?
From his mouth to God's ears. Yes, I mean that would be just. So that means they would play in the second round if they both
Right.
won, and
Right.
that would be appointment viewing, I think.
And that would not be anything that Kim would probably shy away
No,
from.
no.
She very
never
much of the
shies
bring it
away
on
from anything.
mentality. Yes.
Yeah.
LSU plays Texas A&M on Sunday. Texas A&M has an NET of 30, followed by Auburn, NET of 56, and Tennessee, NET of 49. Tennessee is on the road. So really it behooves LSU to not slip up against any of these 3 teams, and none of them are going to be gimmies. But LSU will certainly be favored in all 3. We will leave it here and we will wrap it up there. It is first and foremost baseball season. So many of you out there live for LSU baseball. It's upon us. LSU versus VMI at Alec Box Stadium, 2:00 on Friday on SEC Network, and we will be off and running, 1 of 56. We will be here for all of it. As you know, The Advocate's always been the number 1 destination for LSU baseball, so please subscribe to The Advocate if you've not subscribed already. To do that, you go to theadvocate.com/subscribe. Stay up to date with everything LSU baseball and everything LSU, anything else with our newsletter. Go to theadvocate.com/LSU newsletter and subscribe to our newsletter and get everything delivered straight to your inbox. We are here every Monday and Thursday on all our social channels, specifically our YouTube channel, LSU Tigers on NOLA.com. You can catch us there live. If you don't catch us there live, you can catch us after the fact. And if you don't catch us there, you can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever other finer podcasts are found. We appreciate all of you all tuning in. We are here every Monday and Thursday and brought to you every Monday and Thursday by, of course, Champion Wealth Strategies. To learn more about Champion Wealth Strategies, go to championwealthstrategies.com and plan like a champion today. Gentlemen, it's going to be a long climb to get to June, but we will get there. We will be here for all of it, every step of the way, through all the ups and downs, the inevitable ups and downs of baseball season, and for that matter, spring practice, gym, women's basketball, the march to Cleveland, the lovely winter, spring destination that Cleveland is, and we will be here for it, for everything under the sun that involves LSU. So we appreciate you all the work you guys do, and we will keep all our readers and listeners up to date with everything related to LSU. Stay right here for Koki Riley, for Scott Rabalais, for Robert Young behind the glass. I'm Perryn Keys. This has been the LSU Sports Insider.